Hey guys, you're on with Ali of Speaking My Mind in 10 minutes or less.
Try turmeric root today. It is an anti-inflammatory, it increases antioxidant, and it is a brain booster, amongst other things. You guys, check out more information on Mind Your Body and Soul, our sponsor for today. Hey you guys, it is Ali, and I am back with another episode. This is Speaking My Mind in 10 minutes or less, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, but as you guys know, or you may not know, I am traveling, and I've been traveling for about 6 months now. And I want to talk a little bit about this travel thing, because a lot of people think that there's so much glam to traveling. It's just like being in the States or wherever you're from, and I want to first of all say that it is not. It is not the same as being at home. If you're going to be traveling for more than a weekend, 4 or 5 days, if you're doing anything like 3 weeks or more, it's going to feel different. I'm going to tell you the first way it's going to feel different is in your pocket. So the first and most important thing that we typically do is we look for accommodation. So unless you know somebody, you're staying for free, which some people have those luxuries. My first 6 months of traveling, I am renting by myself and or renting and accommodating people who visit me. And so the expenses are high. And so one of the things I want to talk about is this glam of leaving America and going somewhere else, and it costs you pennies. Well, that is true in some instances. But in order to get that penny lifestyle, you got to be willing to give up some dollar things. What I mean by that is you can have great space and houses and all that, but you're not necessarily going to get a beachfront property, nor maybe an inner city high-rise property with all the amenities that come with it for pennies, right? So you may find that you, as I did, I found that I was spending more monthly away in places that are supposed to be a fraction of the cost to live in the U.S. as what I was paying in the U.S. And so I want to break this down for you. Really, if you're actually visiting places because you're thinking about exiting, like we as black people, we got this thing called black sick, and we are leaving the States. And to do before you decide you're going to move somewhere, because a lot of times we think it's just like picking up and moving from Chicago to Texas, as I did once before, or any state or whatever. And then the top 3 things that I think about when I'm thinking about either staying somewhere. This is the pre-move. I'm just trying to gauge a place to see if I actually want to be there. So the top 3 things that I think about. So the first things we're going to talk about is, let's say you're thinking of making this black sick, because we got a whole lot of drama going on in the U.S. and it's not new drama, right? But that you want to consider before even moving. Number 1, visit the place that you truly want to move to, and that might be a number of places. So now you got to consider budgeting. You got to think about traveling. Now we got this COVID thing, so you got to think about what's open and what isn't, visa requirements, all those kinds of things, COVID testing, all those things add to your budget. And truly think about the places that you want to visit, the IG parts, because there's always places that we're looking at like, oh my God, is IG beautiful, meaning Instagram beautiful, and then also the Chateau d'If inmates part, so the part that's hidden, the secret parts, the parts that are still very beautiful, but you don't really get to see that. So you want to make sure when you visit places that you visit all those spectrums, and we'll talk more about that in another video, why that's so important. Number 2, try the food. You can only eat McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, restaurant type food for so long. Some places aren't going to have those kinds of places, and some places do, but I'm going to tell you it's going to taste different. And then even trying their foods, there are things that just will not taste like back home. Simply eating fruits, it's kind of like going into someone's house who makes everything with curry. And so everything smells like or tastes like curry. And that's how it is in some of these areas. Like everything has just there's this distinct taste or flavor that you have to, that you kind of can sense. And I'm being both in Mexico for 4 months, and so far I've been in Tanzania for 1 month, and there are distinct scents, distinct smells. And so what you want to do is make sure that you can stomach it, make sure that you can acclimate to that, because you don't want to be eating processed and fast food if you're planning on also. What is it that you feel like you can't live without? Because there's a lot of people that live by, I gotta have my greens, I gotta have, you know, you gotta have certain dishes, and you gotta have your ribs and your barbecue, and things have to taste this way, and you gotta have certain spices. Understand what your limitations are before you say, "Oh, I'm about to blacks it," okay? Because those things, like a lot of times we don't pay attention to how critical we make those things in our lives, like how important they are. We can wean ourselves off of them, of course, but until you acknowledge them, you won't realize how critical they are in the grand scheme of things in your day-to-day livelihood. Number 3, what are your needs? Like basic things, certain things in living. Biggest thing for most people is Wi-Fi. So if you don't have Wi-Fi, how easy is it to get a SIM card? How much is the data? That's critically important. And number 4, before you move, is to be realistic. This is what is meant by when people say, don't come to a place expecting America. Don't come to a place expecting what you had back home. And it's being realistic in that, yes, there are going to be places that you can go and live that lavishness, but most people are looking for lower cost of living and experiencing some of the culture. In order to get those lower costs, you've got to be willing to experience some of the culture, right? And so it's not saying that you're not going to have good things, it's just understanding that those things might be slightly different. So now let's go into the 3 things that I require, or that are important to me, I should say, when I am looking for a place. So when I'm talking about, you know, these are the things that I want, yeah, and I would love some of the basic things that I have at home, but I have to realize that there are certain ways of living that are not standard, certain ways of living in the US and or Europe, but I'm just going to speak to the US, that are not necessarily standards in other places, like the way that they clean, environmental things as well. So just understanding those types of things, and understanding, that's why I say when you go to a place, you have to visit, if you're going to visit the IG parts, you got to visit the Chateau d'If parts as well, okay? So top 3 things. Price. Price is very important to me, because if I'm going to be spending more on something that I spend in the US, then I need to understand. I'm gonna break this down for you real quick, you guys. So $15 a night to $300 a night for 30 days. I'm gonna show you how different this is than spending a 4-day, 5-day, or even a 7 or a 10-day weekend somewhere, right? So $15 for 30 days is 450 bucks. $15 a night is 450 bucks. $28 a night is $840. $50 a night is $1,500. $100 a night is $3,000. $150 a night is $4,500. $200 a night is $6,000, and $300 is $9,000. So typically you might go somewhere and you'll drop $1,200 on a 4-day night weekend, but you might not be able to afford that for a whole month. So price is important to me. Location, accessibility, safety as a solo traveler. Those things are important, as well as what do I have access to, what is available to me. You know, how much do I have to move around to get to a store, and do I always have to do Uber? Do they even have Uber? You know, those things are important too. And then lastly, amenities. So what are you getting, like I said, as part of your housing, as part of your location, the amount of money that you're spending, the place that you're moving to, and why are you moving there? Why do you want to get away? So this is going to be a little bit more than 10 minutes or less, but I think these things are so important, and I'm going to do a live video on these, so you guys check back with me, because I want to get your input, and I want to hear some of your questions around different things, and things that you should be looking for, things that you should think about before you're moving to a place. And this is just based on, my visiting different places, and some for shorter stints, and the last year has been very longer time frames, and really just kind of engulfing myself in the culture, in the area, in the neighborhood. Is it walkable? Am I comfortable with it? Can I manage the sight, sense, and feels and sounds of the area? Can I live through this? Can I manage with this? How easy is it for me to get to an airport, to get back home, if that is what I desire to do? Or not back home, maybe I have exited but I want to go back to the States. I have jobs and things that I do in the States as well, and so maybe I'm being flown back, and so I need to understand the complexity in those things, and a lot of times we don't think about it because there's just so much glam that we think of when we think of leaving and moving to another country, because all we think about is the beaches and the beautiful waters and just the relaxing and the chilling and all of that. It's not always glam. It's not all glam anywhere. It's not glam back in the States. So real life anywhere is not always going to be glamorous unless you got that good Rockefeller money, and then but the family's still trying to maintain that. So there's always work to be done. This is just the kind of the interlude to moving before you move, and what things are really important to you. So drill down to those things. People ask all the time, how do you do it? How do you maintain a certain way of living and things of that nature? And it's hard. It is extremely hard, especially if you're living on a budget like I am, like I should be. And I'll break down later on, maybe in a live video, how much money I actually spent last year, because my accommodations were out the roof. And so what I am doing now in this place is actually meeting people who live here, who have been here, and looking for those accommodations that are more within that $15 range, so it's more reasonable. And the reason being, I'll explain really quickly, is because I still maintain a home in the US. And so because I still maintain that home that is not rented right now, so that's another big thing. In the US, those are expenses that I have to cover. So it's important for me to be able to manage all of those things. So those are the things I want you guys to think about when you're talking about that black exit, or just exiting whatever your race is or whatever. Just to think about some of those things. Jot the stuff down. Get you a notebook dedicated just to, your travels or your exit or whatever, and start jotting down the things that are critically important, because you might find that you're surprised at what you believe you can and cannot live without. And then you also might be surprised that, oh wow, it's not that big of a deal to let go of, because this is an option or that is an option. So anyway, you guys check back for my other blogs. My blogs and everything can be found on mindyourbodyandsoul.com. You can also check me out on YouTube. Where's Ali, to see some of my excursions and things that I'm doing. Please subscribe, you guys, and if you'd like to donate, you can send anything to my Cash App at $ALIBAM. So you guys, I will chat with you soon. Toodles and noodles, peace and hair grease.